The most talented filmmakers can become the most stuck. And it isn't because of motivation, it's because of the goals they set. I've been producing creatively for 20 years and producing film for a decade. And the pattern I see isn't filmmakers who are just like losing motivation. It's filmmakers who are trying to keep up with the goals that they set. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the two types of goals that filmmakers set and why they can get in the way of completing your project. I'm Nemoria Wright. This is the Producer's Blueprint. Let's get into it. So here's how it happens. You're excited about your film. You're about to make your film. I ask you, hey, what are your goals? And you say, getting into Sundance, a Netflix deal, distribution with Hulu, a manager, an agent, to land a big deal for the feature film. I mean, you might have these vast goals that are actually like very practical for where you're going in your career, for your trajectory. Those are real, legitimate things to want. The problem is, however, they are not in your control. There is literally only so much that you can do to make those goals happen for you. Here's the deal, okay? Every single one of those goals requires someone else to say yes. They're not bad goals. They're not unrealistic. I'm never going to tell somebody that, because the challenge with those goals is that every single one of them requires someone outside of yourself to say yes, to greenlight you, to push your career along. And when a project is built entirely around external outcomes, you become more fragile to feeling like the project is failing. Because if those big things don't happen, then your project isn't a success. And no one deserves to feel that way, and you do not deserve to feel that way. So let's address this today. Ambition is not the trap itself. Clarity of where you want your project to go is not the trap itself. It's the measurement and measuring yourself against an outcome that you cannot clearly predict. So what ends up happening is people will feel like their project has failed, and then they bring that into the next project before actually taking a step back and thinking, was my last project any kind of failure because I didn't get the big distribution deal? Or was it a huge success because I went to 5, 10, 15, 20 plus festivals, and because I met my collaborators on my next project? Like, you really have to think differently about what your success looks like and turn those outcomes inward. Things that you can execute, things that you have a lot more control over. A moment that changed what I was measuring myself against. So I'm going to share a story. I shared a little bit about this in previous episodes, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper to give you some more context, okay? So in around, I don't know, I guess it was like January, maybe February of 2018, I submitted Love My Roomie, which at that point was just a pilot that was about 15 minutes. I submitted it to American Black Film Festival, ABFF, which is an elite film festival in the United States, in Miami. I submitted, we didn't get in, but we already had the Airbnbs. We already had, some of the cast and I were going to ABFF. And so we went. And so fast forward to June 2018, and I'm seeing these films and these web series and these features. And I'm like, oh, this is what filmmaking is. Now, mind you, I had been a producer for theater and events and digital content prior to 2016. But in 2018, I was only 2 years into my filmmaking journey. So I was new. I didn't really know what to expect. But the more festivals I attended that summer, the more I learned. And then something that feels like a miracle happened. I'm going to cue the clip.
I have to say that I am grateful to God. And I want to encourage all of you out there. People say, how can I want to make something. What do? I see all these cell phones. That's your camera. You go somewhere and you experiment with the lighting, you play around. That is your camera, and that is where you start.
I found out at Newark International Film Festival in September 2018 that I won Best Director for Web for Love My Roomie. I can still feel that. I feel that feeling more than I did then. I'm able to process it more, what it meant. Best director, and I was this new kid on the block. It was an amazing feeling because I had dedicated just about every inch of my free time to Love My Roomie. But then I realized, wait, this series I might have won, but I am not ready to share this with the world. I done seen what these people have been doing this who went to film school. I saw what their stuff looks like. Ain't no way I'm about to share this with the world like that. Winning made me see that I needed to go back to the drawing board. So about 2 weeks, maybe a month after winning, I was filming Love My Roomie again, not reshoots, expanding the series. I continued to write, and that was my life until June of 2019. And I continued to write and shoot in increments up until that point because it allowed me to, shoot according to budget every few months ago, which is a tip if you're not in a rush and if you're shooting a series, especially, you can shoot in increments because it allows you to spend your budget, get some more budget, spend your budget all along the way. And you can also utilize those times in between to build exposure. So let me name exactly what happened in the whole Love My Roomie story, okay? My goals went from outcome to execution. I say outcome because remember, that's all about things that we literally cannot control. Execution, you turn it inwards. These are the things that we can execute, we can put in motion, we can control. And so I transitioned from, oh, I want to be in this festival. I wanted to be in ABFF. My project was not ready for ABFF, child. Moment of silence for that. So I went from, I want to be in ABFF. I want to be here. And we did get into some festivals, but from here to realizing, okay, I need to turn inward, because we didn't get into ABFF. In post-production, at that point, I was the main editor of the project. Resources, right? And so I improved the project, and then submitted that to Newark International Film Festival and anywhere else. If I recall, that's what happened, because the one I submitted to ABFF, ain't no way it would have gotten to Newark either. Let's be real. Let's define the two different types of goals. An outcome goal, again, is festivals, distribution, manager, agent, famous. Those are outcome goals. Execution goals are things that you can control. Outcome, can't control. Execution, you can control. So, what can you control? You can control completing the film. You can control distributing the film on your own. So, that might be YouTube or reaching out to different streamers. Now, you can't control if they say yes, but you can always release it on YouTube or your Vimeo, right? It also includes, first and foremost, building your team. And before that, finishing your script. These are all things that you can control. You can also control your marketing. Do you want me to dive deeper into marketing? Let me know in the comments below, because I love marketing, and I have something called the Love My Roomie effect, how you can make people feel like they've seen it well before it even comes out. I want to break this down even further. Execution goals move projects forward. Outcome goals are great. We want them, but they come into play after we've already executed everything that we need to. Outcome goals, they unfold naturally because when you've executed everything that you need, a lot of those successes, a lot of those wins are bound to happen. And a lot of times they happen in ways that you least expect. Trust me, you have to be open to the miracle of filmmaking, right? The miracle of creating. Filmmakers who stay in motion are the ones that can continue to build, and they can continue to lead. Trust me, you know the difference, you feel the difference. Now, I want you to be that difference in your career. Let's move on. I got an exercise for you. Okay, the part you've all been waiting for. If you have your producer's blueprint, you can go ahead and get started in there. You'll see that we're still working from chapter 1. If you don't have the producer's blueprint, take out a pen, paper, your notes app on your phone, and let's get into it. All right. So the first thing that I want you to do is think about what your broad goals are for your project. I get into details of what broad goals might be in the producer's blueprint, but just to give you an example, a broad goal would be a festival run, okay? It would be audience building. It would be a portfolio piece or a career pivot. Just make sure you write it down. Writing it down gives you that extra clarity that you need, okay? And then next, you're going to think about which of those goals, right? Which of your broad goals that you can lead yourself. This is how we go from outcome to execution. And when you think about this, I don't want you to just think about what's exciting. I've said this multiple times. I really want you to think about the things you can execute. Like, ooh, there's a cinematographer I've been really waiting to work with, and I know that they cost, their daily rate is like $950, but they come with their equipment and whoop de whoop. If you know you can get that $950, that is included in your execution goals because that is something that you actually can control. Like if you know you can afford it, by all means, it's not an outcome. You can execute it. Stay with this. Your answer to question 3 tells you whether your plan is built on execution or on waiting to be chosen. The distinction becomes a producing decision. All right, so the third is going to be which of your goals requires someone else to say yes. I know you're going to find a lot of those goals require someone else to say yes, which are outcome goals. I am so big on execution goals because I promise you, all of the things that I've been able to do in my career, from being a senior video producer at Madame Noir to working at CBS Studios as a director of education and engagement, the through line for everything is that I focused on things that I, Yamoria Wright, could execute. Now, did I have outcome goals along the way the past 10 years? Absolutely. But my main focus was on what I could execute. Keep that in mind. And I want you to really think about the foundation that you're building. Think about those goals. If a lot of them are outcome based, you have to keep it real with yourself, okay? That means that you are waiting on someone else to validate your project's existence or your project's success, etc. And that doesn't mean that's bad, but it does mean that you need to really think about taking more of your project into your hands and thinking about what you can execute. Y'all know I'm gonna keep it real before we close out here. Sometimes filmmakers wait years upon years to reach their goals because all of their goals are outcome based. And you'll never feel like you're achieving anything. I spoke in my last episode about not even really being able to feel like I achieved anything with Love My Roomie being on Amazon Prime Video because I had such lavish outcome goal based ideas, right? And when I remembered, no, turn inward, turn your goals inward, that changed everything. Not about just the project, but how I felt about myself as a producer, as a creative, as a director. So I want you to think about these things so that you can feel good about the work that you're putting out there. The shift that I do want you to make is stop seeing recognition as whether or not your project has been successful, as whether or not your project was worth making in the first place. The film that gets completed with execution goals being checked off will always outperform the film that is only complete if it means that someone else has approved of it, if it means that someone else has said it's worthy to begin with. In case you've just been watching this and you haven't written anything down yet, this is your friendly reminder that before you move on to the next phase of your project, or even if you need to circle back because your project is further along, circle those goals that are in your control, those execution goals, and maybe do a little zigzag or something or a little red line underneath the goals that are outcome, external, needing people's approval goals. So we are really moving along here with the producer's blueprint. Episode 1 was about clarity. Episode 2 was about scope. Episode 3 was about execution. And this episode was all about your goals. And remember, the fastest way to reach no one is by trying to make a project that is for everyone. We're building the producer's mindset one episode at a time. I'm Yamoria Wright. This is the producer's blueprint. If the film matters, make it anyway.